Hello, I just wanted to do a quick video talking about this strange rainbowy shimmery effect I've been doing with some adopts lately. So, it's no brush or anything, it's just a setting. It's just color dynamics in Photoshop. And I've tried to find out how to do the effect, the iridescent kind of effect on the cover of Annihilation, the movie. How it's all rainbowy and kind of oily. And so I just messed around and this worked, which I'm surprised about. It's so easy. So to do it, anyone can do it. I have some other things on, but they don't matter. The only thing that's important here is color dynamics for this. So let's say you wanted to do a galaxy space adopt and you wanted it to be kind of iridescent. Then the way that I would do it with this is turn on color dynamics, turn it up to 45-ish%, that's usually where it's good. And these other two don't matter as much, saturation and brightness. So the hue is at 45%, the hue jitter. And I would start by going to the barrier, the space between blue and purple, and choosing a kind of medium but saturated color like this, maybe a little darker. I'm using a soft round brush, some default Photoshop brush, and I'm going to turn the flow up to like 50%, 40 whatever percent for this. And it pretty much does all the work for you. There you go. Done. That was easy. End the video here. So, I would like to add a little more green. With this color setting, the hue and the color dynamics, I want to add more green. I'm not just going to go straight into green, because then it will also pick from yellow and orange and red, and that will look hideous. So, I'm starting at purple. I'm just going to bring it down to teal, and that will be plenty green, I suspect. Okay, well, maybe not plenty, but good enough. I kind of like that. And now I think there's too much green, so I'm just gonna add more. Now lighten it up a little bit. So, too much purple, oh my god. Calm down. Pink. So that's pretty much the gist of it. That's pretty much it. For making these adopts, I have that on, and I may make it higher if I want it to be even more oilier and random and iridescent, maybe up to like 65% or something. And if it's doing too much colors, if it's doing way too much pink like it's been doing, then I'll turn it down to like 30. And so that's the range. Somewhere between 30 and 70%. 70 is wild, 30 is more calmed down. So when I'm making these, I just kind of throw colors on there. And I just see what looks nice to your eyes. If I want to do texturing, then I might use one of my fur brushes. I have these two. I have this one. I don't know if you can see the cursor very well. I have this one. And I have this one. You can see this bottom one here is much more long and pointy. They both produce very different effects. This long and pointy one does very specialized, long and kind of more fur that stands out. So I use this when I want that fur to be extra long and spiky or defined. Like if I was going to do this shoulder markings here, I would probably use this brush. So long and flowy fur, I use this mostly. If I was going to do the body fur or the face fur, stuff like that, where it needs to be shorter and not so individual, when it needs to be blended in more and not stand out, I would use this wider one. This is more uniform, I would say. The other one is more an accent brush. So I would use this for that. Anyway, so if I wanted to add fur texture to this particular, what's going on here? What is this? To this particular adopt, then I usually start at the shoulders because it's the easiest, usually, for me. So I'm going to keep the color dynamics on. I'm going to turn it back up to 40 something. And this is going to change how it looks. Okay, that's a little strong. I'm going to turn it down. Oh, the flow's too high. Whoopsies. For these fur brushes, I would keep them between 10 and 16% flow. I would not go higher than that because then they do stuff like that. Then they're too strong if you have texture on as well. If you turn texture off, then you can turn the flow up to like 40 or something. So with these fur brushes, I go towards the pointy end. Wait, where? Did it? Okay, I guess they're just gone now. I go towards the pointy end. Is that here? No, really? Alright. But you can also use the other end of it too, if you want to go in that direction. Both ends work, but the intention is the longer pointy end. So this is more purple, so I'm going to go like this. Color dynamics, the hue jitter is kind of lower, at 38% right now. If you have texture on, like I do, then you'll need to mess with that, probably. Mine is being kind of difficult right now. If I make it huge, then you'll see all these big canvas markings. Make it too small, then you'll see, okay, well that looks okay. So there you go, there, I figured it out. So this is what I would do if I would turn this into Adopt. I would go over it with colors that look like what's underneath mostly. I would recommend starting with these darker colors, and as you get closer to finishing the design, then you can go lighter for the highlights. But starting out this way, it is a bit strong. So I recommend starting out lower first. I'm going to turn the hue back up a bit. So to demonstrate what it looks like when you turn it up really high, like to 70, you see it starts getting green and red and stuff in there, and it's pretty unpredictable. And I think that looks better when you're on purple. Well, maybe not. There's some color that it looks best on, that higher hue jitter. That's not terrible, whatever, I'll keep it. But you get a lot more random colors in there. It looks a lot more oily and... not oily, but iridescent. So when I was doing the Annihilation Adopt, I really wanted it to be random. So for that Adopt, I had the hue jitter really high. But for normally, I would not. It's too hard to control, I think, so I would put it back down to 40. So with these two fur brushes, I have to manually rotate them as well. I have the pen tilt on, and I have a tablet that has pen tilt functions, which you have to be very careful for. If you're buying a tablet, you need to check and see that it has pen tilt if you want to use pen tilt. Because if it doesn't say that, then it definitely does not have it. It is a pretty rare feature to find. And for some tablets, they have like pretty basic pen tilt, and it's not very well developed. Like with XP Pen, I have one of their tablets that has pen tilt. I'm using a Wacom for this one. And the Wacom is much more defined. It seems more developed than the XP Pen, sadly, because I really like XP Pen. It's much easier to say. But it's not really there yet. So I have to use, so this tilts, but there's a limitation. It only goes a certain way, and when you start going to the edges of that, then it starts freaking out. So you have to manually change the direction of the fur brushes. And it does get irritating. I've tried to make this wheel on the side here so I don't have to keep opening this, but it lags. So I'm just stuck with it. So I'm using this wide fur brush to blend these together, but if I want to go up to the thigh fur or the neck fur, then I'm probably going to use this longer one. Let's do the legs. This is the legs on this base that I just made are pretty difficult to do. The angle they're at is not very friendly. I'm going to probably resent this base in a little while. I just made these new brushes. Maybe I'll try them out. See how they look. I don't really like how that leg fur is looking. It's more random. Depending on your brush, if it's facing the side, then you can squeeze these here and it'll get even thinner. And sometimes that's nice. This is just not working. Well, whatever, that's good enough for this video. I'm not gonna turn this into an adopt. Sometimes I go over the fur that I just painted with a darker color, but not usually, because it's difficult. So I'll stop with that. I would do this with the rest of the body. If you want to turn it into a galaxy adopt with stars and stuff, then this is what I use for the stars. I'll use just a hard round brush, turn the spacing up all the way, turn scattering on, turn that up all the way, turn off color dynamics, turn up your flow, go into shape dynamics, turn size jitter all the way up, minimum diameter all the way down, and then I just go for it. I kind of follow the direction of the fur. You don't want to overdo it with these because they can get very distracting. So I am only going to do them for this on the most colorful parts. And leave the darker parts without them. Alright, so let's say that those are our stars. The effect that I like to do with them, I press this button here, I go to outer glow, I turn on color dodge, and then I mess with the spread and size. So you can see that makes them look glowy. If you want the glow to be even bigger, you can change the spread. That's a bit large, but you can turn down the opacity. or turn down the size, or make it even bigger. Okay, that's kind of nice. See, who knows? You just experiment. Oh, that's that's quite nice. And there you go, you got a galaxy wolf. It obviously needs some refining, especially on the face, which is, in my opinion, the most important part. But if you did that, it's pretty much done. Maybe I should sell this. This is really nice. So yeah, that's how I do this color dynamics thing. I don't know if this was very helpful. Oh, one more thing. If you turn that off. If you weren't completely satisfied with how your colors turned out, if they were a little too dark or a little too much of one color, you can go to hue and saturation and you can use the slider to change it to what looks better to your eyes. Like this looks more like a peacock. You can get some hideous colors here. This looks like a heat map. But you can do this and change it around a bit. I added too much pink, so I'm going to turn mine down a little bit towards green. If you want to really change it, you can go into color balance and manually change the colors. It's kind of nice. I'd like more green. Maybe a little more blue. And the last thing I like to do to edit my images is to go into brightness and contrast. This is probably one of the most important things. I usually change it manually, but if you press auto, it'll do it for you to whatever it thinks is best, which is usually awful. But now it looks kind of pastelish. You can use that as a guide. That's fine. If you want to make it more intense, you can go into vibrance and change the vibrance or the saturation if you want to be insane. So those are ways that I would make these colorful dots. It doesn't require anything besides having color dynamics on in Photoshop and whatever brush you want to use for adding the colors initially, and then another brush for whatever detailing you do. It's difficult to draw these. If someone commissioned you to draw this, I would feel bad for you. It can be done. You just have to, it takes more time. You have to try and replicate it, but I don't think anyone who designs these actually intends for anyone to create them again perfectly. Like the adopts that I do like this, I would never expect another person to be able to create it again exactly the way I did. That's nuts. So if I owned a design like this, I would just expect an artist I commissioned to do it, to do vaguely similar colors. At least if it looks similar, zoomed out, then that's good enough. But you should never be forced to go in and feel like you have to replicate every single hair. I did another video before this. I messed it up, so I threw it away. But in that one, I tried to reference a design I just did, the one based on Annihilation. I was pretending, so let's say I got commissioned to redraw this character, which I made using all these effects. So you can see differences. When you get up close, yeah, they're not the same, but they never will be the same. No one should ever spend enough time to make them look identical, and no one should ever expect you to. With iridescent rainbow designs like this, you just have to accept it'll never be exactly perfect. But they look close. My redo version here on the right is more bright. It's got a bit more purple in it. But it looks close enough. As long as you follow the markings and follow the generalized colors of those areas. Like if you just do for the shoulders, they're mostly purple and magenta. So as long as you do that with mostly purple and magenta, that's good enough. So that's all I gotta say about that.